welcome to the show. This is a very special treat today. We have on a very talented man, John Schneider. He, of course, is most famous for playing Bo Duke on The Dukes of Hazzard, which was a top 5 TV show for many years. And it spawned movies and remakes and reboots and tons of merchandising. But John has also acted in a ton of other stuff, 161 acting credits on IMDb that I counted, plus directing and producing. And he has a bunch of stuff coming out, including his latest Stand On It, which is a Smokey and the Bandit tribute. He's also had a really successful music career, and actually he started as a singer, and his cover of Elvis Presley's Now or Never is the highest charting cover of an Elvis song. And he has a new album out now called Truck On. It's country music. It's old-fashioned country music, not the pop star country music you hear today. He also has a CBD oil. He has a charity that he founded. The man is very busy, and we only had about 30 minutes in this episode, so I don't get to ask him all the questions I want. So if you want to learn more about his story, get his book. It's called My Life, My Way. Some really interesting stuff about his background, like how he used to be overweight and then how he lost the weight, and how he showed up to the Dukes of Hazzard audition with a 6-pack of PBR. Just lots of interesting stuff about his background that we didn't have time to get into in this interview. But in this one, we do talk about a variety of things. And of course, I got to ask him about the Confederate flag because it's such an iconic piece of the Dukes of Hazzard car. But obviously, it's also very controversial and means different things to different people. So you may agree with John or you may disagree with his stance on that. But I think it's worth hearing his opinion at least. And he does go off on a little bit of a political tangent, which I find very interesting. But again, I always put the topics in the show notes. So if you want to skip that part, you can just listen to the other stories that he tells. But to me personally, I find it all fascinating. I like hearing his opinions and his philosophy on life and success because he's had a lot of success. And I think he's what you expect. He's a good old boy. He's not meaning no harm. So just remember that and enjoy this episode. Welcome, John Schneider, to the Chuck Shoot Podcast. You are a true Renaissance man. You're a musician, an actor, a director, a producer. You've written a book. You have a CBD oil. You've started a charity. Did I miss anything?
I can twirl a rope, and I can juggle 3 oranges.
Yeah, and you golf too, although you said you're not very good at golfing.
Oh my God!
It's a hard sport.
My two biggest laments are that I didn't start golf earlier and that I started golf at all.
Right. So
those are my 2 regrets in life.
For sure. Yeah, no, I hear you on that. So just what I want to do is maybe tell a quick abbreviated version of your life story. And then we have a lot of things to promote too, but I think your story.
I was born in Mount Kisco, New York, which is Westchester County, New York.
Right.
And I was one of those kids that went to the double feature every Saturday. So I spent a lot of time watching movies. And somehow, some way, at about 8 years old, I said, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Right. Well, tell me this dream, though, because you had this is so fascinating to me. You had a dream of Lost in Space. And you dreamt they were filming at your dad's shop and there was camera and lights and craft services. But how did you know what?
How crazy is that?
How did you know what craft services was at 8 years old?
I didn't. So that to me was an indication. And I'm not all that freaky deaky, but I did have that dream that I was sitting on the steps with Billy Mooney, Will Robinson, while they were setting up for a shot. So the lights, the camera, the crew, everybody was there. It wasn't a 8-year-old or a 9-year-old lost in space with the Robinson family. They were there filming. And come to find out, the dream was very accurate. So is that a vision? Maybe. I had another one that I was at I was probably in Atlanta by this time. So I was probably 14 or 15 years old. And I had a dream that I was at a party in a tuxedo, and I'm also a magician. So I wore tuxedos a lot as a kid.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Back before magicians were like street magicians and looked like homeless people. Yeah. Biggest magic for a street magician is making a job appear. But,
that's good.
But I had this dream. I was in a tuxedo at a cocktail party, and I bumped into somebody, and I said, "Oh, excuse me." And the guy turned around, and it was Dean Martin. And Dean Martin said, "Thank you for having me here." And I remember as a kid thinking it was great because I wasn't feeling like I hadn't crashed the party. It was my party that he was attending, which is a weird kind of a dream for a 14-year-old to have.
Yeah.
At the time, Dean Martin was had Dean Martin and the Gold Diggers. He had done Rio Bravo with John Wayne, so Dean Martin was a big star. But in my dream, when I bumped into him, he was at my party. Maybe 10, maybe 15 years later, we were celebrating leaving Children's Miracle Network, which is an organization I founded. We were at Videopolis at Disneyland, finishing up our last year. We did the party there. I'm the host of the party because, it's my party. I bumped into someone. I said, "Excuse me." I turned around and it was Dean Martin.
Oh my gosh.
And he said, "Thank you for having me here."
What? Did you tell him the story?
There was a historic rift between Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis because Children's Miracle Network apparently was the only other charity other than muscular dystrophy that Dean ever did. And that caused an argument between the two, or so I heard. But imagine that, so my exact dream came true.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I do believe that we're here. I do believe that we are here with a design and with a purpose. And there is something very specific that you and I and everybody who's listening and watching was specifically fashioned to do.
Yeah.
Me, for whatever reason, I realized that or discovered that at about 8 years old and have really never varied from it.
Yeah, and you just kept going. So fast forward, you get the job on Dukes of Hazzard. The show's a big hit. This is something I was always curious about, though. And I think it was like season 6 or 7. They replaced you guys with these other characters over a contract dispute.
Looked like us.
Yeah, it was really like I never understood that. That was a big thing in the 80s. But when you think of Hollywood now, you think of all this, power to the people, the working man. And so is that Hollywood corporate greed? Is that something that was bigger in the 80s, or is that something that's still there that's maybe just more hidden?
Define that a little more. The corporate greed has not gone away. And
well, because it seems like
it's very difficult for people who get paid ridiculous amounts of money for me to believe that they actually care about the downtrodden.
Right. And that's what's so interesting.
Regardless of what they say, they're, let me see. The issue is that there isn't anything the size of Dukes of Hazzard anymore, or the size of Chips or Dallas or Falcon Crest. I mean, we averaged 28 million people a week for 7 years watching the show.
Oh yeah. It's huge.
There were only 3 networks, and they replaced us because we didn't come back. We thought we thought that we were going to reach a very quick solution. And in a nutshell, what happened with Dukes of Hazzard is it made so much money in merchandising so quickly. And Warner Brothers had us signed to a boilerplate merchandising deal that should have netted Tom Wopat and I $25-30 million by 1982, because Warner Brothers in 1982, by their own press, they released a statement where they had made, I think the number was $320 million in Dukes of Hazzard merchandising in the calendar year 1982. And Tom and I each, our share, which was supposed to be 6% of the net is a very dangerous word, but 6% of the net was about $6,500. So our share of $300 million was $6,500. So we called that to their attention.
Yeah. That doesn't
and
seem
they
fair.
were not interested in having a conversation. So we said, look, we have a sneaking suspicion that there's a bunch of money on the table here that's supposed to be ours. And so we're not going to come back until this is settled. Now, history, many times, even on these amazing YouTube videos, which I get sucked into, where I'm watching, television history and things you didn't know, they still say that we held out for more money. We did not. Number one, we did not walk off the set. We didn't come back. There's a difference. When you tell someone, look, I'm not going to come back until we straighten this out, you've given them ample warning and they have a way to prepare. When you walk off the set, you are violating a contract, and I don't care what your problem is or what your grief is, that's not the right thing to do. So history has it wrong. We did not walk off the set, and we did not hold out for more money. All we did was hold out for an accurate accounting of what we felt we were owed contractually, as did our representative. I mean, a lawyer would not have taken that on if he didn't look at it and say, wow, this is wrong, and it should be easy to fix.
Right.
It wasn't easy to fix. It never got fixed. And it cost me millions of dollars in 1983 between money I did not make and money that I had to pay in taxes on money I had. It's just a disaster. It was a disaster.
Did you at least get royalties for the reruns and stuff? Because that was kind of at the cusp.
Oh, we get very little. Yeah, it's very minimal.
Because then, like the 50 stars, they get nothing, right? It wasn't until later that the stars negotiated to get money on.
And I think that was Desi Arnaz. History has it going to Lucy, but I think actually it was Desi Arnaz, and I think Jackie Gleason with the Honeymooners had a lot to do with making sure that if product is able to be continue to be sold throughout the decades,
right,
then the people who are in it should be compensated for that. And they weren't before. Little Rascals got screwed. The Abbott and Costello got screwed. The Three Stooges, all six of them, I think there were 5 or 6 of them, got terrible. They didn't make anything past the first airing of the show, which is really, really tragic. And that goes back to your corporate greed question. That hasn't changed at all.
So it's kind of just more hidden now. It's not outright.
Well, I think what happened, honestly, is that a lot of contracts were written because of the debacle of Tom and John. I think a lot of people were far more careful afterwards when they made those deals on both sides.
Yeah, sure.
I think they defined what the accounting was going to be far more clearly, so that there wouldn't be an oversight, or so that someone would not feel they were being taken advantage of, or they got a little more clever at taking advantage of people. I'm not sure which one of those things. There was no merchandising. I was not involved in merchandising on Smallville. And I tried to be, but because I'm the guy that opened that can of worms, or one of the 2 guys that opened that can of worms, and because it was yet again a Warner Brothers show.
Yeah. So
I didn't get a piece of that.
Right. And then Dukes of Hazzard, I mean, when you talk about reruns, like there really isn't reruns of that show streaming because of the Confederate flag issue, which I know you've talked about many times, and it means different things to different people. And now I even see people saying the American flag is offensive.
And those people offend me.
And that,
so they offend me, which is okay. It's all right to be offended. But, honestly, if you're offended by the American flag, which I realize right now, my grandfather's rolling over in his grave, as are every other World War I, World War II veteran who's passed on. I'm going to say it's a travesty, but it really is another T word. In the 1940s, it would be treason. And I think it still is. burning our flag or defecating on our flag or tearing our flag down. Or, I'm a patriot is a bad word now to some people. Well, if patriot is a bad word to you, then screw you. Sorry, go away.
Are you familiar with the story of Speedy Gonzalez?
I'm familiar with the cartoon. Tell me the story.
You're gonna love this. So they took Speedy Gonzalez off the air because it was offensive. Well, the Hispanic American Rights Organization, they started a petition to bring it back because Hispanic Americans love Speedy Gonzalez. He's a cultural icon to him. So then they brought it back. So that's when you talk about things meaning different things to different people. It's kind of interesting.
Well, the Black Lives Matter people managed to put the African American woman who played Aunt Jemima out of business.
That's right.
And that's another issue where, wait a minute, this is not a slur. This was never meant to be a slur. The world doesn't have to change because you on your high horse or low horse or medium horse take offense to something.
Right.
So what if you take offense to something? Just because you think I'm going to make this up, but just because I'm wearing a red shirt, that obviously means I'm in favor of the Bloods versus the Crips. Doesn't mean that's what this means to me.
Right.
I'm wearing a red shirt because we did a tribute to Smokey and the Bandit called Stand on It. And we just did a sequel to that called Poker Run. And I was just out doing some shots in our car, our Hellcat. It's not a Trans Am, and that offends some people. I don't care. I'm a Chrysler guy.
Yeah.
So we made a Hellcat with T-tops, and it's triple black, and it has gold rims, and it looks like the Smokey and the Bandit car, but it's a Dodge. But I'm wearing this red shirt because I want to wear this red shirt because I'm working on a movie where I wear a red shirt.
And you were actually in Smokey and the Bandit. You snuck on the set and you got a role as an extra, right?
I did. Yeah, I wouldn't call it a role. I just kind of got placed somewhere.
Okay. But how did they not kick you off?
With Jackie Gleason. I spent the day with Jackie Gleason, which was fantastic. Jackie Gleason at the time was living, I think, in Peekskill, New York, which is not far from Mount Kisco. So I dropped a bunch of. I was only 16, but I knew the names of all the bars in Westchester County. So I dropped a bunch of bar names, which immediately got his attention. So I sat and chatted with Buford T. Justice before the world met him.
Wow.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
But
back to the other thing, you don't have a right. There is no constitutional protection for being offended.
That's true. Hey, so let me ask you this. You work with Tyler Perry on this show, The Haves and Have-Nots. It's a big part of
which I think we had our last episode last night.
Is it the final of the whole thing?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so you work with Tyler Perry. Now, this is a guy, to me, is such an inspirational story. Everyone talks about systemic racism. I heard he is an actual billionaire. So how does he beat the odds? And does he have a stance on the flag stuff? Or do you guys ever talk about that?
Oh, gosh, I don't know.
But
I do not know.
He doesn't cancel you. He lets you
beat the odds the way anybody beats the odds. He worked his ass off. He created opportunity, which you have to do. You have to be able to create opportunity, and you have to be able to recognize opportunity when it shows up. And this one, I think, is most important. You have to expect opportunity to show up. If you don't expect it, you won't recognize it. If you don't expect it, you won't be prepared for it, and you will miss it. So Tyler is a very hardworking guy. And he's about as smart a human being as I've ever met.
Wow.
So I'm sure there's a lot of things we don't agree on, but we don't talk about those things. Which is, we talk about some of them, but that's okay. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Here's another news flash, folks. It's okay to disagree.
Absolutely. That's what makes this country so great.
Well, yeah. And nowadays people are trying to, I guess the word would be homogenize the public perspective and public conversation to the degree that no one is allowed um, to have their opinion. You know, it used to be said that everyone has a right to their opinion, and opinions are like a-holes. Everybody's got one.
And they all stink.
Well, people are no longer, that's right, they all stink. And people are not, somehow there's a feeling that that's not okay. Well, that truly is. Conversation and debate are what make change happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's what makes the world go round.
Absolutely.
It's what makes art. You know, if everyone looked at a painting and saw the same thing, it would not be art. It would probably be I don't know what it would be, a thing on a wall covering up a crack or a hole in the plaster.
Right.
You know, they used to also say, "Viva la différence." Well, different opinions and different tastes in shirts and different tastes in music and food and different religious and political perspectives are what make humanity great.
Absolutely.
And it is what sets the United States of America apart from every other Marxist, socialist, communist country, is that we are free to believe what we wish. We are free to think what we wish. We are free to strive for that which we want to strive for. Only here.
Right.
Now, it's an interesting line, though, when you get to the point where you say, well, yes, you're free. That means you're free to do stupid things like burn the flag.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's true. However, I don't want to give Lincoln credit for this, but I think it was Lincoln that said, here in the United States, we have the right to do everything except that which is wrong. You know, and there are things that are patently, blatantly, obviously wrong. At least there were.
That we used to all agree on, and now there's disagreement about some of these things.
Yeah. Yeah, and disagreement is okay. But taking action against your country, stifling freedom in the name of freedom is an odd thing. You don't have the right to. I think that's why the word treason exists. I think that's why there's a definition of the word treason.
Mm-hmm.
That doing something against your flag, vis-a-vis your country, vis-a-vis your people, is wrong.
Absolutely.
Who defines that wrong? I don't know. I don't know who defines that wrong. But it's to me, it seems pretty obvious that socialism doesn't work. However, I'm not going to put a sign up on the front of my studio here and say no socialists allowed. I'm just going to make it allowed. I'm just going to make sure that they know this is not socialist ground.
Sure.
This is my ground. And when you are on my ground, you will act appropriately. I don't care what you believe, but I care how you act on my ground. And the United States used to be our ground. There is a regime that's trying to remove that from us. And I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah.
I think we're stronger than that.
Well, I hope so. I hope we can all come together and figure out what
well, we won't all come together.
Yeah, that's true. There's going to be people on the edges of each side that are nuts, basically. And we used to laugh at those people, but now those people have a lot more power with social media and all this stuff.
Well, I think social media has given them a far, it's turned up the volume on their voice.
Sure.
It hasn't made more of them. I still think they're a not so silent minority.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, they have a lot of time on their hands, so they figure out how to manipulate social media.
Yeah.
And that's great. I mean, that's great. But but I think it's damaging
for sure,
especially to young people. It would be odd 20 years ago for someone to grow up, have a 13-year-old say the flag of the United States was offensive. Now I don't think it's all that odd, because kids just want to fit in, and they want to fit in with the most prevalent opinion on the internet. And on the internet,
yeah,
people who have a lot of time on their hands, because they're getting funding from somewhere, I guess probably from those of us who work our asses off.
Yeah. Well, we've got
not only do we pay for our own lives and our own aspirations and our own families and our own children, but now we're paying for yours.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, we got off on such a tangent, which is all fascinating, but
let's promote something.
Let's promote some of this stuff here, because
Stand on It.
Yeah, speaking of working your ass off, you've got Stand on It, which is coming out, which is the Smokey and the Bandit tribute kind of, and then
is out.
It's out. Sorry, Poker Run is coming out. And then you have all these other movies, Trace Leches, They Whisper, 1 Month Out, Adeline, Candles. You're just workaholic. You got so many movies coming out.
Well, I love what I do. And once you get past 50, and I'm well past 50, you start thinking, I've already spent more time here than I have left. Even if I'm only halfway through, but I don't know a lot of 122-year-olds.
Yeah.
I better hurry up. I better get started here. I better get some stuff done.
Right.
So I'm very proud of Trace Leches. Is a very odd, like stoner dude. Whoa, movie.
Huh.
And it's about three dear friends who are all 25, who all have Asperger's. So they're all on the autism spectrum.
Interesting.
But they're all just buddies who get hired to, they fall for one of those things you get on your phone that says, hey, I'm in the Netherlands, and somebody hit me on the head and took my wallet. I need $2,500 to get home.
Oh, they fall for one of those. Okay.
Well, yeah. What they fall for is the guy says, hey, I'm your uncle, and I'm in the Philippines. I got hit over the head. I don't have any money, but I need you to deliver my car to me for 50. I'll pay you 50 cents a mile when I get my money. I'll pay you. So they're going to drive a car for 50 cents a mile.
Oops, I lost you.
Oh, you lost me. Hey,
there you're back. Okay, yeah.
There you go. They're going to drive a car for 50 cents a mile from Baton Rouge to the Philippines. And
doesn't it have pot in it or something, or legal pot, or?
Well, there's some inhalers, what do you call those things? Vapes, some
vape pens,
hot vapes in the back.
Okay, gotcha.
They get paranoid. One of them gets paranoid about everything. He's got the munchies. He's paranoid, and he calls the police and tells them that he can't flag down any of the unmarked cars. They won't stop.
Oh, wow.
So he thinks they're being arrested, which actually is a true story. I saw it on. I heard it on YouTube. There's a police call where these guys have smuggled pot over a state line, and the problem is they smoked it, and they're at an Applebee's, and the one guy gets paranoid, so he goes out and thinks all the cars in the parking lot are unmarked police cars, and when they won't arrest him, he calls the police and has himself arrested. It's pretty funny.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's great. The language is atrocious. But I just kind of let the camera roll, and it's very, very funny. The only person anybody knows who's in it is Austin St. John is in the movie.
Okay.
And he's great. Then we did another movie about Alzheimer's, which is actually a pretty odd, funny look at Alzheimer's. I like to put a comedic twist in just about everything we do. And Barry Bostwick is in that movie. Laura Caluette is in the movie. She's been in a bunch of Tarantino's films.
Oh.
And I'm very proud of this. Ruth Buzzy from Laugh-In When I Was a Kid is in this movie. And it's called 1 Month Out. It's available also. All these movies are available at Cineflix DOD, which is our streaming service. We are independent. You remember your one of your initial questions about corporate greed. We do not have aspirations to be on Netflix or Amazon. We are only interested in providing or in providing content for our own streaming service. That's called Cineflix, DOD.
Oh, okay.
And so that's where you can watch Stand on It. You can watch Trace Leches. You can watch 1 Month Out. You can watch. Alicia and I have done 12 movies since we met.
Wow.
And we've only been together for 7 years.
That's amazing.
Now, if you want a DVD, which a lot of people do, I'm very fortunate in that, streaming has kind of killed a lot of the DVD sales. However, because I'm a guy who's been on television for 42 years, a lot of people still want my autograph. So they want autographed copies of the movies. So if you want an autographed copy of the movie, any of these movies, go to johnschneiderstudios.com and check out the movies that are there. Or, here's the greatest thing. I'm taking advantage of the world we live in. I have an app. It's called John Schneider. It's free. So if you get my app, it'll take you to Cineflix. It'll take you to the store. It'll show you the schedule. It'll tell you everything that we're doing. It is truly a stalker's best friend.
Great. Yeah. So tell me about the music, because I listened to a lot of your music yesterday for the first time, and it's really good because it's real country. I mean, not that today's country isn't good, but it's more pop music. Your stuff is like old school, like Johnny Cash, and you've got slow songs and you've got fun, like tongue-in-cheek songs. And the new album is called Truck On, and it's out. Truck On,
and that's where that great song Roy is, which is it's a throwback to, it's funny. My first memories of Charlie Daniels was not as a country artist. Charlie Daniels had a song called The Ride, where he was going out to LA in his Chevrolet, toking on a number and tuning on the radio. And for the older folks, they'll remember it's where he said, "So I kicked old Green Teeth right in the knee." So Roy is just a great, like Jerry Reed, Charlie Daniels, wonderful story song about a truck race across country, where my guy winds up doing a kind of an accidental hit of nitrous oxide. It's for the truck, but he winds up with a snoot full of nitrous oxide and kind of floats across the line into California. It's hysterical.
Oh, wow.
So, I love stories, not just story songs, but songs that have meaning to them, that aren't ditties. Red Solo Cup sold a lot of music, but it's a ditty. I'm just not a ditty kind of a guy.
Mm-hmm.
So Truck On is a song on there talking about our highway heroes, our folks who keep the country rolling, but they really kept the country moving at all. They kept us from atrophy during the I heard somebody call it the scamdemic the other day. So they kept us going. So there's some great music on there. We have another album came out last year called The Redneck Rebel, which I think is pretty terrific. And also the music from Truck On, a bunch of it is in Stand on It.
Okay.
And I go back to Nashville. Alicia and I leave Sunday. We'll be in the recording studio on Monday doing the music for Poker Run.
Oh, fun.
So,
and you tour too?
I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I've done music forever, but now I get to not only do music, but put the music in the movies we make. And
do you do a lot? Because I saw you had tour day. Is that to perform music, or those speaking engagements, or because you're coming to Wilcox, Arizona, in my home state? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's for Rex Allen days.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
We'll have the band, and we show. I think we're showing Stand on It there too. We're traveling. We're like a traveling island of misfit toys. I show up with a band and a stage, and I show up with sometimes with a pop-up, blow-up, drive-in movie theater screen that's 50 feet tall. We show movies. A lot of times we'll partner up with a drive-in movie theater. I don't know if there's one there or not, but I do believe we're showing Stand on It at that event.
Okay.
So we do whatever we can to keep going. And it's been great fun. And making movies, now being being someone who was an 8-year-old watching movies that, you know, John Wayne and Robert Redford and Cary Grant and all these great things, Clint Eastwood, still, thank God for Clint Eastwood. And then being kind of a hired gun for decades, and now being a guy who makes what I want, when I want, with whom I want, is really an incredibly enviable position.
For sure.
But I pursued it, you know, with everything I had, and still do. But I pursued this kind of autonomy for 4 decades. It didn't just happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only thing that happens overnight is morning.
That's a good line. I like that. Yeah. So you say you have fun with these things, and people are surprised when they work with you that, oh my gosh, like making a movie and making a record, all this stuff that we thought was monotonous, is you make it fun. And you say it's because people try to make it seem difficult. You think maybe that's because of ego. Like they say, oh, my job is so hard being an actor. And you're like, no, it's not. It's easy.
My God, have you ever dug a post hole, dude? Yeah.
No, I don't want to.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. There's also a lot to trying to impress the powers that be. You know, if you're working for someone else and they're watching over your shoulder, you want to look like you're busy. But also, there's just a lot of people who have gotten into a directorial position that really don't know what they're doing. There's such a need for content now. You know, there's 800 channels or 1,000 channels, or, you know, so. And
streaming services.
There are people who are driving the buggy who really don't know what to do with the reins. And that's okay. I mean, you learn by doing. That's fine. I was very fortunate in that when I was doing Dukes of Hazzard, the people that directed Dukes were already 50, 60, 70 years old. So they had come from vaudeville to radio, and then were around at the inception of television and really invented how to shoot it. So I was like a sponge. I still am like a sponge. I learned a lot from Tyler Perry. I haven't learned a lot from a lot of people in the last 20 years, but I learned a lot from Tyler about efficiency and about how to push people to the point of efficiency, but not any further. Because one step after your maximum efficiency is a complete mental breakdown.
That's good. Good advice.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that, but you want to know where that line is.
Right.
And you want to help people get there.
Right.
So yeah, it was, there's a lot to be said for inexperience in people who are directing these days. There's a lot to be said for trying to impress people. And there's a lot to be said, you know, a part of some personality is that they want to feel like they're, you know, all angst ridden. And they're like, oh, you know, we got to do this. It's tough. And I'm just not that guy. You know, I get off on having people watch a movie that they've been in and go, my God, I don't remember even doing that. Did we do that? Yeah, we did, because there you are. We did.
That's amazing. Do you need to get going? Sorry, I've kept you over a little.
You know, I kind of do.
Okay.
I do. I just got a message that when my picture went away, I just got a message.
Oh.
We're big believers here in prison reform.
Oh.
And I just got a message. We have a gentleman that we are, I don't know, the word is not really adopt, but we're trying to give a life after incarceration to a gentleman. And I just got word, I think I saw it flash by. I think we're going to be able to give this man this opportunity.
Oh, that's amazing. I love hearing stories like that. So, okay.
Well, yeah, it's can you imagine? How old are you?
43.
Okay. Can you imagine being in jail since you were 18 for something you did when you were 18, still at 43?
I did so many stupid things. I probably should be in jail.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's prison reform is very important. We have a governor here who's very into prison reform. We don't agree on a lot of things, but we agree completely on prison reform. So I'm a big fan of John Bell Edwards in the prison reform area. And that was the governor's office that was chiming in a minute ago. So
wow,
I'm going to take that call.
Fair enough.
Fingers are crossed that we're going to have a gentleman here who not only paid his debt to society, but is a tremendous boost to society and an attribute to our little society here. And I'm hoping we're going to be able to welcome this gentleman on the other side of the gate with open arms any day now.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'll fill in the audience about your CBD line and the Children's Miracle Network. And so I'll let you.
Thank you. Yes, we're supposed to be talking about CBD, the CBD line.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, I want to tell you folks that my wife 2.5 years ago was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. She's still around. She's still kicking. She's healthier than she's ever been. And one of the things that helped it all work was CBD oil. It's not a magic thing, but it is what I think about CBD oil is it's such a natural element in your body that it helps drive your medication, your dietary changes, your supplements. It helps everything else work better.
Yes.
That's what I believe. I'm not a doctor. But if you are experiencing something like that, or you're experiencing inflammation or arthritis, it is a wonderful, wonderful addition to whatever it is you're doing. We have it in an oil you put under your tongue. It is apple pie moonshine because I'm Bo Duke after all.
That's great.
We also have it in a topical form that's a balm.
Okay.
Our bomb is the bomb. That's what my wife says.
I like that.
So check it out. There's going to be a link here, and I appreciate your time. I appreciate your questions, and I'm going to go see what's going on with our wonderful gentleman and see if we can adopt him.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This has been fascinating. I really liked hearing your opinions and stories.
I appreciate it. Let's do this again.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Okay. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, folks.
John Schneider, ladies and gentlemen. I really enjoyed that interview. Of course, it's always nice when the guest suggests that they come back on your show. And again, you may agree with some of his political stances or you may disagree. But either way, I think it's worth hearing his opinion and where he's coming from. The man has had a lot of success and he works very hard. And I think we can all at least learn from that. So again, he has a lot of stuff going on, including all his film and TV work, his music, his CBD oil, his charity, the Children's Miracle Network, which he co-founded with Marie Osmond. And the links to all the stuff should be in the show notes, along with my website. And this was a lot of fun, and I hope to have more film and TV people on the show. So make sure to follow me on social media for future episodes, and make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you listen or you watch. Thank you for listening all the way through. Enjoy the rest of your day, and remember, shoot for the moon,